Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Thursday, December 4th in Calgary, Alberta. It's cold, it's snowy.
It's not that cold.
It's warming up.
Warming up, which is wreaking havoc on the rink that I was trying to pour in the backyard in the park behind the house.
Oh, that's right.
We built it when it was minus 15, put the liner down, and then on Monday tried to pour it, and it was felt like 7 degrees. And as it turns out, I think there's a small hole or two in the liner, so most of that water just leaked out, unfortunately. And I've been waiting for cold snap. It just hasn't come.
Oh, yep. Oh, we lost him.
Sounds dropped out.
Yeah. Well, we'll tie him back in if he reconnects. So, Mike, nice sign there.
Thanks. I noticed that was a new addition for the
for our little hack together recording studio.
Yeah. I'm sure for folks out there, it looks like it's really intentional, but most of the stuff in the background is just gear that we're not using that's propped up against the wall.
I know it feels like a photographer's studio.
Yeah,
extra gear. Anyways.
Yeah, and I suppose that much was by design, right? Like that. I think we framed it up and then saw the stuff in the background. I was like, that's fine.
Exactly. We're pros. Pros. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get tied into this here. What do we want to touch on first? Stats. Do you want to quickly do a stats?
Quick stats.
Put the screen up.
Sure.
And what I wanted to just talk about briefly on stats, if I can figure out how to share my screen. Share screen. Market data. There it is. Okay. So what we're looking at here, we've got the City of Calgary total sales by price range. This is year to date, 2025 up to November. What's interesting here to me is that we've got sounds back. What we've got in $1 million plus, we've got nearly as many sales as there is in the 8 to 900K. And so I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I think the question is, I've heard comments that the luxury side of real estate, which you maybe argue is $1 million plus in Calgary, is helping prop up the market a little bit. So I don't know. Does this illustrate that, or is it or is that not quite the case? I mean, maybe in terms of volume, it is. I mean, dollar volumes of sales, but I don't know about numbers of sales. If this is telling the case or telling the story.
That's maybe a good question just to tease some more information out. So this on the y-axis, the left side there, are those the number of sales, or is that the
total number of sales? Yeah,
total number of sales. So yeah, I mean, I would read into that. Intuitively, you would think that there are fewer multi-million dollar homes across Calgary than there are the bulk of the other property types. And so if you have, an equal number of, or almost equal number of million plus versus 8 to 900,000 or 800,000 to $1 million, there's obviously been a shift upwards in the market across the board. I don't think that 800,000 gets you the same house that it did 4 years ago by any means, but looking at $1 million plus property, I think it's fair to say that a good number of those are even $2 or $3 million plus, and to have that number of sales in that segment, it is a smaller story within the larger, things are calming down and it's way more balanced. But in the luxury market, I think, and what I've heard anecdotally from some of the other agents, is that it's still pretty competitive, and you can't sit on your heels and wait for a good property, even worth a few $1 million. It's not going to be around long.
Yeah, I mean, anecdotally, we've heard that higher end of the market is still fairly robust, isn't it? These numbers seem to flesh that out. I think the story is that the lower end of the market has been slow, and maybe that's the story. It's not that the high end of the market is hot. I wouldn't say that it is, but it hasn't let off as much as the low end has. Would you guys agree with that?
I think that anecdotally, what I've seen in a lot of cases is that I have people that are trying to sell something in, oh boy, what am I doing? Trying to sell something in the lower range, in the say 3 to 500,000 and upgrade, and it's, or even in the 6 to 7 and trying to upgrade to 8 to 9, you know, and it's not, you don't have the assurance that you will sell, I guess. So kind of speaks to that the market's a little bit slower, but yeah, they don't have that assurance anymore, and so things are taking longer just on every front, it seems like.
Yeah, that's an interesting take. So, you know, you have, I mean, one part, a segment of the market is that move up market. It's not all of it, but it's part of it. So people that are buying, that are selling their $300,000 to $500,000, $400,000 place, or moving into a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 place, but they got to sell their house before they can move in to the newer place. So, you know, is that where the bottleneck is in the market? It's only a segment of it, but is that?
Yeah. Well, I think that compounded by, like, the whole market has moved on my screen this way, right? And so the entry point for somebody that's going to buy that $600,000 home is maybe someone selling a 400. Somebody buying the 400 is maybe a first-time buyer, and so I think that having the whole market move up has just created a whole sort of quasi unaffordable entry point. And we're seeing that. I think that that's the correction that might be starting to play out in the market, is that to buy a first home for anybody, it's, you know, you need a household income of $250,000, which is,
I think you just nailed it, Daniel. It's what I feel. It's, you know, you can't maybe back it up with numbers and stats, but that's kind of what I feel is going on in the market.
yeah.
And, you know, you talk to a lot, just looking at our economy in Canada, and we're better in Calgary than many centers, but the economy in Canada is pretty rough right now. And for new guys trying to buy a home, you know, it's a challenge.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we've bored enough people with stats here, so we'll take that off screen and move on. But I don't know. What's our next thing? I've got a personal interest thing, but that can wait till we get to the end of our show.
Well, what is the personal interest? Let's hear it.
I finally joined. It's 2025. I finally joined the world of stand-up desks. So you can.
Oh,
I've had a sit-stand desk that was never plugged in for 15 years, and I finally plugged it in and configured my desk so that I can stand instead of sit. Which, you know, I've got a nice Herman Miller chair that is quite nice to sit in, but
yeah,
I'm here standing, and hopefully getting a walking pad. That's my next thing. Get some exercise while I'm at the
Right.
computer.
Can you start biohacking soon?
No.
Well, I wonder if the way to tie that back into real estate is to maybe just touch on the commercial and particularly office market. I mean, we don't do a ton of that stuff, but I was just helping a good friend look at an industrial office bay, or, well, not industrial, but in one of those industrial townhome complexes. They're looking at potentially buying one next door. And a part of that was, you know, the seller is offering a good deal of nice furniture, particularly office desks and the like. Said, okay, you know, if you want that, we can maybe throw it in too. And the counter argument from the purchaser is, if you want us to dispose of it for you for free, we'll do that. But the market for the chattels, the stuff that comes with an office, it's difficult to sell that as a part of the deal. And I wonder, like, Dad or Sano, if there are any similar or any analogies in the residential market that you would draw. Like, I know pool tables can be challenging, while most folks think that they're a real nice thing to have. Often selling them or getting any value for them, despite how expensive they may have been, can be challenging. Are there any other residential encumbrances that would go along as furniture?
Well, it's true. Yeah, sometimes those things are disincentives.
Yeah.
like you said, like pool table. They're like, don't want to have to move it. And sometimes pools, at least in Calgary, swimming pool is we don't want to have to heat it, and we're never gonna, or I don't know, we don't want the kids to fall into it, or so those things are not. Those things can be disincentives, but when you talk about chattels, I guess the advice that I've always given, even though like in some cases, it's like, hey, we want to sell it with the furniture. We want, we really want to get rid of this stuff. You leave it till the end. So I've always said, look, if you're going to give it away for free, let's focus on we're talking about $1 million house. Don't mess up $1 million sale for $20,000 worth of furniture or whatever the number is. And then just leave it aside till the end, after the deal's done, and then focus on the furniture. And that is the best way to handle those kinds of chattels that come with the property in every case.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think I've ever seen a real successful deal where you negotiated anything within the purchase of the property. It always overcomplicates things, and it makes it more and more much more difficult.
Yeah. And then so I did have one case where we closed the deal in the 11th hour after going back and forth. The seller had been trying to sell this property for 5 years. We finally got the deal done, and we were, still a little ways apart on the price. The buyers who we were representing came to the table, said, "This is it. We got it." They had accepted it with some other terms, but there was some furniture involved. And she says, "Look, we're leaving all the furniture. It's been vacant forever with all this furniture sitting in it, staged." And we said, "Okay, yeah." So and the furniture got included, and that kind of just got the deal done. So that was one case where it got done. But after the fact, they took a couple of things out that were supposed to stay in there: the popcorn machine, the this, the that, right? So, I ended up buying them a popcorn machine just to smooth the waters, and so there wasn't any hard feelings. But nonetheless, there was a lawsuit involved after for, these people. That kind of stuff never ends. There's never a happy ending to that stuff. I know. So.
Yeah. Dan, was there ever a deal you've done where the furniture either got it done or was an unnecessary complication?
For me, it wasn't furniture. Actually, it was had a quick story about pools. So we just had a buyer close on a property that used to have a pool, and we kind of found that out during our due diligence period. It was a backyard pool that was filled in some 10 years ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a nice landscape backyard, but I think the story we were told is that the sellers 10 years ago were told pools don't add values to homes. So, they had gotten to the point they weren't using it, so they just decommissioned it and filled it in. And I think that, anytime I've shown properties that have pools, with some exceptions, of course, I think when you're getting into the luxury market, that's a different story. But if you're looking at, I would say, everyday homes in most communities, if there's a pool, it is really 50-50, maybe not even 50-50, probably 80-20, that it does not add value to the transaction. And it's like, it's a homeowner's desire, and that they're probably in the minority.
Yeah, I find that they're often they're a labor of love for the people who want a pool, and for somebody who doesn't, it's a burden.
Yeah, they're a lot of work. I mean, having just installed a hot tub, I can tell you that even that is enough work to disenchant me from thinking about a pool, which I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Somehow I knew, there was the good angel saying, "Don't do it," and the bad angel saying, "Get the pool."
Yeah.
For a while.
Yeah.
I'm over it now. Yeah.
Very good. Go ahead, Dad. Sorry.
What else is happening in the market? There was a talk about trying to identify sort of the new trends, because the market seems to be in flux right now.
Yeah, the market's in flux, and I think the question that we're trying to answer for a lot of clients is, where are the opportunities? And they're not always easy to identify at large. To say, you should be building MLI Select. I think that ship has sailed for the most part. So it's really trying to focus on where are the opportunities now that the market is in flux.
Yeah.
What product is in demand, and in demand or in short supply, or maybe for people that are out there buying, what's in great supply, and maybe you can get a good deal on. So.
Yeah, so maybe this ties into our earlier discussion too, but I'll just reflect on a few other statistics that I brought forward in another interview. We had, so in the last, I'm going to say, we've had as much inventory in 2024 come into the market in the rental segment, or rental properties, purpose-built rental, as we've had in the last 9 years in 2024. The vacancy rate's at 8.5% right now, which is partly caused by that. But so that's either a good story, a good story or a bad story, depending on how you look at it. Like the fact that we absorbed that much product in 2024, and we had that much in migration to absorb all of that, you could say, wow, Calgary's on fire, and the vacancy rate's only 8.4. Or you could look at it and go, wow, that's a lot of product, and I'm not building another purpose-built rental because we're saturated. And there's still there's still a lot being built.
Yeah.
So just throw that out there. What do you guys think of those numbers?
Yeah, that's impressive. I think that probably ties into, maybe why the market has slowed down. If people that are moving here are renting, by and large, that type of product rather than buying, for sure, that's going to have an impact on the market and cause a bit of a disruption. I guess looking into my crystal ball, does that mean that the market is going to come down, or are those people, are they in those rentals for 2 years and then moving on to purchasing? I don't know. Or are they going to be lifetime renters and the market is just going to adjust?
They might be. I think that there is a part of the shift into the shot in the arm that the apartment and condo market or townhome market received over the last couple of years was people doing the calculation on how much they were paying for rent and saying, well, I can go buy my own and live in it and pay myself for what I was paying in rent. I think with that inventory coming in, it's going to shift, make that equation less clear for some folks.
Well, I think you just hit it. I think you have nailed it on the head, Michael. I think that's why the low end of our market, of the resale market, is so soft. It's because it's so competitive in the rental market. There's a lot of incentives. The rents have softened, so you can rent a pretty nice place, and wait to kind of see what the market's doing, or there's just not a lot of incentive to jump in. The market in the low end was going up like crazy, or even moderately. There's incentive to get in because you want to save that inflation in the housing price. So we don't have that right now. It's pretty soft. So there's disincentive and a lot of incentive to rent. So I think that's what's affecting that lower end of the market, actually.
So what advice would you have for an owner of a rental unit, or an owner of a condo or a townhome right now that's trying to work out whether or not they should keep it and continue to rent it, or get out, sell if it's an investment property, or maybe they're moving up but considering keeping that as a rental? What advice would you have for that person?
Well, I think in every case, I mean, this is good advice for everybody, regardless of where you are in the real estate market. Have enough equity in it so that your cash flow, project if rents go down, project forward that you can handle it. You've got enough equity. Your mortgage is not too high that you get stuck and you can't cover it. So have enough equity in the property. And real estate's a long game. So look at it over the next 10 to 20 years and how's it going to play out, not over the next 2 to 3 years. I think that's always the best advice, and it served. It always serves well in real estate. So that's how I would look at those investments. If you've got a good property, a good rental, and it's good location, maybe rents are low right now, but hang in there, hang tight, because those properties are always going to be valuable. Rents are going to go up, when the market stabilizes a bit more. That's what I would say.
Dan, any to add there?
Yeah, I guess the only thing I would add is that, if you're looking for investment properties and long term, maybe value add, like things like garages and storage are not to be overlooked, I think, when you're looking at investment properties. If you already have one, and you're trying to optimize, maybe that's one way through. You can get these mortgage plus improvement loans, and so for relatively low cash input, you can add a significant amount of revenue. So
that's interesting. We were talking about a new development in a kind of a small town, small Alberta town, and one of the key factors that just kind of popped up was having garages wide enough to fit like what do they call those big trucks with the dualies?
A dually, yeah.
So having a double garage that's actually a double garage that could fit like 2 trucks, or because the guy works in the oil patch. If he doesn't have a dually, he's got a big truck. Most garages, you look at the garages that are built
22 by 22 won't fit one of those.
I look at the stuff that they're building in the inner city, where you got 8 garages, property line to property line, maybe a foot or 2 barely between each. I don't even know how they get into those things. It's
very carefully.
You don't want to get me started on that. It's not a good thing. Yeah. Anyway, so those are kind of hidden opportunities, and so maybe that's another topic we can touch on really quickly. Is what are the hidden opportunities that are sort of next in the market? Things like that I think are, like Daniel touched on it with storage, where you can add things like storage and amenities that are missing in the market right now. Garages for dualies. What else? What else is sort of missing in the market?
Dan, go ahead. I have one, but you go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that I think what's flooded the market is apartments and these kind of RCG townhomes with upper suites and lower suites. And you mentioned so if we're on a corner lot, there's 8 suites and 4 parking stalls. So parking is in high demand for those kind of properties. For apartments downtown, storage is going to be in high demand. So I think, I'm hitting on those again, but because there is probably demand that you don't just see on the surface, there is, I think there's just when you dig into what is available and what's missing, those amenities that are missing from the offering today, that's where I see the opportunities. I can't pick up on any more at the moment, but go ahead.
Yeah. Well, another opportunity or gap, I think, is quality as well. We've touched on this before a little bit, but last week I went to visit a friend who lives in Banff Trail. He has recently built. He is a builder, but he recently built a garage with a suite above. It's a nice garage, and we didn't see the suite because it's rented. He's got it rented to some just two roommates. But for the 2-bedroom place, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom place, I think he's renting that out for, he said 25 or 2,800 a month for a garage suite. He put in 400. It cost him $400,000, and he took that mostly out of his equity. But I mean, it's a 10-year return basically on that investment, and then it'll start paying him off. And like he's able to charge that, A, because he's in a good area, but B, because he built it really well. It's a nice place that has parking, and that I think is another gap where a lot of these purpose-built rentals, they were built quickly and relatively affordably. And if you were looking to differentiate yourself, as the rental market softens, you do it either on price or quality, I think. And I think you want to do it on quality if you can.
Yeah, I would agree, Michael. That's a good point. I was thinking about that. I think one of the opportunities is laneway suites, because they're more robust. They're spacious. I mean, they even have parking if you want. You could have one of the garage stalls. I think that's where the opportunity is, especially if we're going to repeal blanket rezoning. It looks like that's in the wings, and we could let's just remind me to touch on that before we close. But that is going to be a big opportunity. I think laneway suites is a huge opportunity upcoming. I think development, densifying developments, especially around transit, and so. If you look at where the new Green Line is going, where there's new transit opportunities to densify developments, any mixed-use development right now that can be densified, I think, is an opportunity, especially around transit. Those are future opportunities to look at, and yeah, I think that's where the puck is going next.
Well, why don't we touch on the blanket rezoning really quickly and then wrap up here?
Yeah, tomorrow is the deadline for comments, and so it's been proposed to repeal it. But there are, and I will say that I support that the repeal of it. I think in hand with that, we have to take a look at the local area plans. We have to I guess, replenish them. Go through them again and then rework them so that we get the density that we need, but it's applied and properly planned in areas that it deserves the density, not blanket across all zones. So that has to happen in concert with it. But it's important that we support the initiative to repeal it. And if anyone has a minute, they can send a note into council, which it's on. You can go to City Council, the website right now, and apply, submit your comments, I guess, in support of that motion. And that's important because we have to make sure that does get through.
Okay, very good. Well, on that note, I think we're going to wrap up, and we may or may not have another live stream here before the end of the year. So if we don't, everyone that's tuned in, thanks very much. It's been a great year, and 2026.
Happy New Year. Yeah. Nice work, guys. Without having much to talk about, we stretched that out in half an hour. Yeah, just pulling.
Okay, we're out.